I'm Justin, and this is Ohio Gozaimasu, THK Manufacturing of America's series on Japanese language and culture. Today's video is the second part of a two-part mini-series on hiragana and katakana, which are the unique writing systems used in Japan. If you haven't seen the first episode of this mini-series, which was episode 11, we highly suggest that you go back and watch that video before we watch this one.
English has voiced and unvoiced consonants, but we aren't usually aware of what they are. Unless you have studied linguistics, you probably have never heard of this concept of voiced and unvoiced. I'm intentionally not using linguistics jargon to explain this concept, but understanding voiced and unvoiced can really help you learn to write hiragana and katakana. Vowels are usually voiced. This means when you make a vowel sound, your vocal cords vibrate. You can test this by putting your hand on your neck and saying the Japanese vowels. You should feel your neck vibrate. A, I, U, E, O. This is what we mean when we say a sound is voiced. Consonants are distinguished from each other by three things. 1, where you make the sound in your mouth. 2, what your lips, tongue, teeth, and other mouth parts do to move the air. And 3, whether or not your vocal cords vibrate, making a sound voiced or unvoiced. So there are sets of consonants that have the same location and method. They are made in the same place in your mouth by doing the same thing, and the only difference is that one is voiced and the other is not. K and G are a set like this. Put your hand on your neck and say the consonant sound of the letter K. K. Keep your hand there and say the sound of G. 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 Your mouth should stay in the same position, and you should not feel your neck vibrate on K, but you should feel it vibrate on G. K, G, K, G, K, G, K, G. If you are doing this in public, you probably look pretty silly.
G, 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 G.
Another pair is S and Z. Let's try that. S, Z, S, Z, S, Z.
So G is a voiced K and Z is a voiced S. Japanese doesn't have distinct hiragana to represent these sounds. It just puts 2 slashes or dots up in the corner of the character to indicate that it's voiced. So if you write kakikukeko with the dots or the slashes in the corner, you get gagigugego. There are sheets down below if you want to practice, so let's give it a shot. Let's practice.
Ga, gi, gu, ge, go. Ga, gi, gu, ge, go. S becomes Z, but what about that SH sound in she? Why don't you try to figure out what it will become? It's somewhere in between a Z and a J, but it is usually written with a J. Let's practice. Za, ji, z, ze, zo. Za, ji, zu, ze, zo.
The next consonant is a T sound, which basically becomes a D. But in Japanese, there are some exceptions. The voiced chi sounds just like G, just like a voiced she. The tsu sound, when voiced, sounds like a voiced su. Both can be written as ZU. Voiced chi and voiced tsu are both very uncommon in Japanese. Let's practice the 5.
Da, ji, zu, de, do. Da, ji, tsu, de, do. N is already voiced, so we can skip that group.
There are 2 consonant sounds that are formed from the H column of hiragana. The first is the sound that we represent with the English letter P. To pronounce these sounds, close your mouth, then make the ha, hi, hu, he, ho sounds with a puff of air at the beginning. These characters are written with the ha, hi, hu, he, ho characters, but include a little circle in the top right-hand corner. These are the only characters to use the circle. Let's practice.
パ、ピ、プ、ペ、ポ、パピプペポ。
P is not voiced, and the letter B is actually a voiced version of P. So ba, bi, pu, be, and bo are written with the same ha, hi, fu, he, ho, kana, and the two lines that indicate a sound is voiced. Let's practice.
バ、ビ、ブ、ベ、ボ、バビブベボ。
Sounds in the ma, ya, ra, and wa columns are already voiced, so there are no additional sounds.
There are no new sounds or hiragana to learn, but there are some new combinations. Let's talk about how to write them first and then about what sounds they represent. Each of these combinations begins with one of the hiragana that end with the vowel I. Ki, shi, chi, ni, hi, mi, and ri, plus the voiced sounds gi, ji, pi, and bi. Then you can take the ya, yu, and yo hiragana and make them small and add them after any hiragana that ends with the vowel I. These sound just like their two components, but they are blended into a single beat. The important thing here is that you pronounce them as a single beat. Let's look at an example that's easy because we have the same sound in English, Q. Not Q, Q. If you have ki and u both written full size, this is 2 beats, ki u. If the u is smaller, this is read as 1 beat, Q. There are 33 of these sounds. Take a deep breath and let's say them all.
キャ、キュ、キョ。ギャ、ギュ、ギョ。シャ、シュ、ショ。ジャ、ジュ、ジョ。チャ、チュ、チョ。ニャ、ニュ、ニョ。ヒャ、ヒュ、ヒョ。ビャ、ビュ、ビョ。ピャ、ピュ、ぴょ。ミャ、ミュ、ミョ。リャ、リュ、リョ。
While we cannot have a consonant stand alone in Japanese, we can double a consonant. This sounds like a speaker is pausing, drawing out, or holding a consonant sound. We only do this for hesitation or emphasis in English, but in Japanese, it can mean the difference between two completely distinct words. Here's an example. The word for cat is neko. This is similar to the word for a plant's root, except the K sound is doubled, neko. Let's listen to them back to back.
猫、猫。
This consonant doubling is common in the ta sound that attaches to the end of verbs to make the past tense. The past tense of the verb to be ends in a plain ta sound. The past tense for the verb to go ends in ta, but with this t sound doubled. Here they are.
いた、いた。
So how do we write these double consonants? No matter which consonant is being doubled, the extra sound is indicated with a small tsu. The small tsu is never read as tsu. It means, hey, double the next consonant! So here are our examples written out in hiragana.
猫、猫。 いたいた
For the most part, hiragana and katakana function in exactly the same ways. They both have 46 sounds that they represent with different characters. They both use two dots or a circle up in the right-hand corner to indicate that those sounds change a little bit, get voiced, etc. They both have combinations of hiragana that end in the vowel I combined with ya, yu, and yo, and they both double consonants with a small tsu.
However, there are a few important differences into how they are used. The first is in how they are used to express long vowels. It is common for vowels in Japanese to be extended or doubled. Like we discussed earlier with the consonants, this can be the difference between two words. Any vowel can be extended. Let's take a look at an example of each. The difference between the respectful words for someone's aunt and someone's grandmother is just the length of the first a.
おばさんおばあさん
The same goes for the vowel e in uncle and grandfather.
おじさんおじいさん
It is very common to extend the u sound when it is part of a combination made with a small u. The Japanese island of Kyushu is an example of this.
九州
The respectful word for an older sister has a long a sound. The word is not completely similar, but there is a short a in the humble word you use for your own older sister.
姉お姉さん
The word for big has a double length o at the beginning.
大きい
One major difference between hiragana and katakana is how these long vowels are written. In hiragana, they will typically be written by just writing the hiragana for the vowel sound, as in our examples. However, in many cases, a long vowel that is pronounced a will be written by adding an e after an a sound, and a long vowel pronounced o will be written by adding an u after an o. In other words, if you see a hiragana e after an a ending hiragana, read that e as a. If you see a hiragana u after an o ending hiragana, read that u as o. There are many common words that use this pattern. The word for teacher, sensei, is written se, n, se, i, but is pronounced sensei.
先生
The capital of Japan is spelled to-u-kyo-u, but it is pronounced Tokyo.
東京
In katakana, on the other hand, you may see long vowels represented by vowel katakana, or a long a sound represented by an e, just like in hiragana. However, the most common way to represent a long vowel sound in katakana is with a single dash. This is a horizontal dash when we're writing horizontally and a vertical dash when we're writing vertically. My last name is Sheets, so I extend the e sound with a dash like this. There are also many sound combinations in katakana that are not typically used in hiragana at all. This is how Japanese writing represents foreign sounds that are not a part of any native Japanese word. This is typically done by using one katakana to represent the initial consonant and then using a small version of the vowel katakana to indicate that it uses that vowel. I have two examples of this in my name also. My middle name is Justin, but there is no t sound in Japanese. There isn't even a short I sound. The closest we get is e. However, if we combine an e with a t, we get chi. So how do we get something close to a t? Well, the closest we can get is t. What we do is we take the katakana for te to represent the consonant of t, and we use a small e to represent the vowel of e. This is what we get, and this combination is read T. My first name is William. There is no wi or we sound in modern Japanese. So what we do is we use an u to to represent the sound of W, and we use a small E to represent the vowel. We end up with this combination, which is read as we. There are a lot of these complex katakana combinations, so we're going to put a list of them down in the description. Once you've learned the basic 46 symbols of katakana, we recommend that you start learning these complex combinations.
Thanks for joining us for this two-part course on hiragana and katakana. If you have any questions, put them down in the comments below. Please like and subscribe. See you next time for Season 2 of Ohio Gozaimasu.